Recording now.
Thank you so much, Stallin. Welcome, guys. Welcome, folks. Welcome to this first episode to the podcast and Mastermind, Spot to Grow and Onebrain. Let me introduce the aim of this podcast, Mastermind. It's not a top-down conversation, okay? It's really sharing is caring. So here, it's really practical workshop. So today we have a special guest that in a few minutes I'm going to introduce to you. But before, let's just explain to you, I will say the framework. First of all, we have some questions for the special guest. And if you can, and if you want, you can already chat directly in the chat and ask your question directly. And after the question, the interview with the special guest, we are going to answer to this, okay? So don't forget, sharing is caring. Learning and also networking. 3 words for this podcast, okay? We are going to record it and we are going to have on our YouTube channel and Spotify and LinkedIn, so you can follow us. The idea, and this is the last thing, the Spot to Grow and Onebrain is here to help you to give birth to your child dreams, okay? So we are growing together. All of us, we have a child dream, and the idea is to grow together, and this is the spot to be. Right? So I'm really proud to introduce my partner, Stallin from Onebrain, and our super guest, Magda Misiorny. So let's go to introductions.
Please, Magda.
Thanks, guys. I'm super excited to be here. It's going to be fun. So a quick introduction. I'm from Poland originally, but I started my career in corporate retail in Portugal. Quickly got bored, was a little bit too slow to implement ideas. And in 2017, I moved to the Netherlands, where I previously graduated from Rotterdam School of Management and joined a young startup there. And this is really where the story began. Since then, I've worked with various B2B and B2C international tech ventures, both in SaaS and hardware, on spearheading innovative ideas into market and scaling the businesses. I also started a few of my own ventures with amazing people, and I had tremendous learnings from them. So I hope to share them with you today.
Also, your experience in a startup environment is very good. Let me introduce me. My name is Stallin. I'm living in Porto, and I'm a tech person. I am founder in 2 businesses. One of them is a platform for e-commerce, and the other business is called Onebrain. When we develop softwares and hire and outsourcing tech people to startups, industries, retail, and I really like to be here to talk, to know better Magda, and to understand more how can we grow a startup, what is the main learnings. So this is the most important.
Amazing. So hearing from your story, you probably share a little bit of the experiences I had, growing a company. I think for context, it's really important to understand that you often hear stories of those solo entrepreneurs starting the businesses, and then the leap of faith turned into a $30 million acquisition 5 years later, right? So based on what you see on social media, lots of entrepreneurs are thriving, but then you learn that 90% of startups or businesses fail. And nobody talks about the losers. The winners are literally 0.001%. But there are huge learnings from mistakes, and primarily from what not to do. And this is how I learned mostly. I think everybody should think critically about the success stories they see. And if you look in those in isolation, then you might assume that starting a startup or a business is I call it fastest path to riches, right? But building a business takes effort, dedication, and consistency. So our bias towards focusing on success stories can really skew our perception of reality. And I think my really first advice before you start a new project or venture, do your homework. So think critically and do your homework, right?
Thanks, Magda. You're totally right. Thank you for sharing in this hour. We are going to have it as a toolbox after this podcast mastermind. And the first one is you're right, your advice before you start a new project or venture, do your homework. And you're right also in the sense that all of us, we can discuss, publish in the media about successes, but what about the failure? And I hate this word failure because it's not a failure, it's a learnings.
Yes.
Without all of those learnings that leading to success.
Right. Spot on.
So you told us about some the failures, the winners are just 0.0001%. So let's talk about something about what is to be an entrepreneur for real, Magda. Let's talk about what is the main experience and learnings do you when you think about your past experience, what is the main learnings did you think about?
I like this term entrepreneur for real because it really shows different facets, right, of building a business. And I would say buckle up because I have a very interesting story for you. In my first startup experience, I joined a team of 3 founders as the first marketing hire, and I was responsible for hiring and scaling the marketing team. And one of the founders was sort of a tech visionary and had a brilliant idea to create an AI, artificial intelligence pocket translator. So in 2017, and international travel was absolutely on the rise. We were all international people, and it seemed like a really great solution to bridge the barriers and boundaries of communication. So we quickly assembled the team, prepared the marketing strategy, including positioning, messaging, and of course, community building. And we went to market with just an idea, launching on Indiegogo. You probably might know it's a popular crowdfunding platform. And the outcome couldn't have been better. We did 15 million in sales in a little over a year, had the biggest news outlets talking about us. It was just great. And we basically thought we were geniuses. And, from there we thought, why not to repeat this success? Part of the team, myself included, we always loved music and we always loved working together as well. So we thought we could launch another direct-to-consumer product, same path to market, crowdfunding, and then direct online sales, and so to speak, rake in another millions in relatively short amount of time. So we did just that. We launched on crowdfunding again, and as you might think, it didn't fly. It was a complete disaster. Yeah.
Oh, complete disaster.
Yeah,
Right.
with us buying our own product, trying to boost sales and reach the funding target.
The same you did twice the same path, but the outcome was totally different, right?
Exactly.
One of them you got millions in revenue in
Right.
a small time, and in another one totally about nothing, zero, right? So
2 different outcomes.
Two different outcomes. And maybe our audience can, what do you think to yourselves? What could have been the reason? Of course, I will reveal it to you. So,
probably you thought a lot about these 2 experience, and what do you learn from this, Magda? Why, in your opinion, one of the startups rise a lot and the other not? Well, what did you think can do different, and what could you have improved in the second startup?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, I think in the bottom of it was that we took the first business idea and success for granted. So we didn't do any idea validation or market research, and thought because we get it and love it, and because our previous idea worked, the people will also love it, right? So it was, I will reveal a little bit more about the product now. It was the early days of blockchain, and the idea was to create a blockchain-enabled music speaker that would allow people to tip the artist directly with the clap. So in this way, the artists benefit a lot because there's no intermediaries. And just because we understood it, didn't mean that people did. So now everyone is more or less familiar with this technology. Back in 2017, it was way ahead of the curve. So doing market research first, ensuring there's a demand for your product, is what would be my really first tip to avoid this early failure, or as Alex said, learning, right?
Learnings, first
Exactly.
learning. But totally agree, because sometimes we can be totally excited by the idea. We are entrepreneurs, so we are really into our idea. But sometimes it's true, we need to settle down, sit down, and do the right path, and validate the product first into the market. So you're totally right, Magda. Yes, market validation first. It can seem really easy and stupid, but it's not. You know what I mean? Sometimes we are into the daily basis, the routine. It's really, better than me, because startup scale up, it's evolving so fast.
Yes.
We need to be flexible. We need to be fast. So that's why also you have been through this path.
Spot on. And especially I described now the example of the hardware startup, but especially in software tech startups, it's even easier to test. So start small, test, iterate on your MVPs, or minimum viable product. It's super essential, and it can really let you avoid many of the pitfalls going forward.
Yes, the MVP, start small. I love this sentence, start small. Sometimes we have this big vision, but we need to settle down and start small. You're right, that's true. That's really practical advice for the consumer product startup that can lead to new entrepreneur directly to success. Is it in Tallinn, right?
Yeah. I don't know if someone have a question, but I'm thinking here about you told about the market research first. Have you, Magda, did some market research in another project? Do you, if I'm starting a startup now, I don't know, a hardware startup, because when the startup is a software, it's a little bit easier, because you can do
Right.
a super simple app, or a spreadsheet, a WhatsApp, I don't know, a super small, tiny MVP. But when you're thinking about a hardware, for example, do you have some tips to do a market research properly?
Yes, you can for example, what we did, you can go to the internet directly and speak with people, right? Before you produce the product, because producing a hardware product is really high cost. So you probably would want to avoid first taking the product to manufacturing, and only then learning that people are not interested. So even market research, as simple as talking to people on the internet, seeing what's happening on the forums, in the groups, it's very useful, and it can serve as a great testing ground for your hardware product. And yeah, equally for both hardware and software, this research is important. Of course, as you say, it's a little bit easier for software startups to test the product directly, But yeah, nevertheless, there's both learnings from both.
Good, good.
Thank you, Magda.
Ask
And we have a question.
people on internet. You have a big audience. You can talk with a lot of people easily. So
Yes.
great tip.
Yeah, exactly. So maybe we can go to another example as well. I can share about my other
Just
learning.
wait, we have a question from the audience. Diana said that there is no magic formula for guaranteed success.
Yeah.
How can you avoid failures as much as possible?
Doing the homework and understand. I think that it's a great bridge to my next point, right? So I already touched on be prepared, do your homework, right? So validate your idea, talk to the people before you launch, right? But then you also have different kind of businesses. And so far I described mostly what you call direct to consumer businesses and hardware businesses. But I also have quite a bit of experience in SaaS and software businesses, right? And they are software businesses that which their target audience is enterprise clients, so not directly consumers, but enterprises. And here, I think we can talk about the sales cycles and understanding what are the lead times. So how long the customer takes, to pay you from the first interaction you had with them. And this is a very important distinction to understand before you decide that this will be your customer segment that you will be serving, right? So I can give you another example. Fast forward in 2020, we were launching another fintech solution in youth banking space this time. And we chose the second path that I described, which is the B2B path.
Oh.
Yes, having big banks, challengers, and credit unions as our main clients. So think Santander's or Revolut's, right, of our world. And we had early validation of our MVP. Some big banks already contacting us that they wanted to purchase the product as a customer loyalty and acquisition tool. But then when you work with enterprise clients, the sales cycles or lead times can be awfully long, right? So it typically takes around 6 months to close a sale, and around a year to close a larger deal. So we completely miscalculated how long it can take to close the deal and get the money directly in the bank and have money to run your business. Mm-hmm. And because at that point we didn't have any runway, we were forced to pause the operations. We were lucky that we didn't have to dissolve the company and could come back to it when the time was right. Then 2 years later, after the pandemic, the topic again became hot, and we had a bit of a confidence that we could relaunch the product with those potential clients that contacted us before. This time around, we didn't want to expose ourselves too much personally, and again, bootstrapped the business. So we decided to look for pre-seed funding. We managed to raise the round with one of the European VC funds.
Oh, very good.
And securing this funding allowed us to have room for experimentation, sales and marketing, scaling sales and marketing efforts. So to your question, I think there are two main takeaways that can avoid as much as you can at this next stage of growth failures, which is first, choosing which customer segment you will be serving. So knowing the lead times and prepare your team, set up your team accordingly to operate and know those times that you will, be prepared to have the money in the bank to inject in your company again. And the other one, also know what you need to grow without compromising. So explore various funding options. So I already described bootstrapping, crowdfunding, VC, right? So venture capital, there's also angel investing. It really depends on your situation. and on your desired outcome.
Thank you, Magda. You're totally right. I already highlighted on the chat the 2 main takeaways. Thank you. Really brilliant.
Great.
Really.
I hope that answers your question.
Yes,
We,
yes.
we have
Amazing.
now we have 3 keys in our toolbox. The first one is the market research first,
Yes.
as first as you can. The another one is you pay attention in the customer segment and the lead times to sales, the sales cycle. And the another one is you can grow without compromising your all money. There are a lot of funding options, crowdfunding, angel investors, venture capital, or bootstrapping, right? Also, Magda, there was very impressive this three uh, three three learnings to our toolbox. And what else should founders and leaders pay attention to, especially when you are scaling the company, Meg? You told us a lot of examples when you are starting or you create when you have an idea. But if I have a good idea that my startup is validated, but I need to grow. What is your what I as a founder maybe pay attention when I'm scaling my company?
Great question. I think we are now starting to touch on one of my favorite topics, and especially this intersection between product, marketing, and distribution. I think this becomes super important when you start growing, right? So from the marketing perspective, especially knowing your product and listening to your customers is a cornerstone, I think, of any successful business that I've seen. So I give you another example why this is important. In one venture that I was leading the marketing team, we were doing quite well selling a product that was branded since the beginning as a travel product. And then when the pandemic came around, we hit a plateau because travel died down, right? So we needed to really go back to the drawing board and reinvent. Before, it was a flagship product that was selling around $500,000 a year. And we decided we needed to find a new way to market it and regain growth. Otherwise, what can happen? You pause and basically you cannot continue to grow. So I think as well, again, what would be the best way to do it, we thought, right? And as you might think, always when you are in doubt, go to the source. Ask your customers. So what we've done next was we've run a few customer insight surveys and discovered that we were missing out on a huge USP, so unique selling proposition, and part of the audience that was using the product in many different ways that just for travel. And this gave us enough feedback to redo the value proposition, reposition the product from only travel focused to one serving other use cases and other people, and create content around it. So we really started focusing more on selling the lifestyle part of the product. Well, go figure. This is what all the big brands do, right? So Apple, Nike, and so on. And rather than speaking only to one use case. We would never have figured that out, that our product could have been used in so many different ways if we haven't spoken to our customers. And this helped us really regain this momentum, even despite not so favorable macroeconomic situation. So resuming, you need to validate your content with customers. It's not enough that you just copy paste your competition. And you can do it in a few different ways. So one I described was, for example, the client surveys. The other one is A/B testing, especially in the ads space. One-on-one interviews are the other one, and my personal favorites is listening to what your customers have to say in your bad reviews, so in your negative reviews. I think negative reviews are really a gold mine to enhancing your product, finding new angles how to market your product, and finding new customer niches as well, where you can tap into with your product.
Interesting. Yeah, that makes sense, especially because you probably have personal opinion that you think is right, but might not be shared by the audience.
Exactly.
Right?
Spot on, Alex. Yeah.
Yes.
Impressive. Yeah, that's some solid insights, Magda. Is there anything else, maybe the last topic important for business owners want to grow? You told us now about listening our customers, but there is another topic if you want to grow, maybe sales, marketing, something like that.
Great question. So, once you find your target audience and you know who you are marketing to, you need to find ways to talk to those people, right?
Right.
So,
The most difficult part.
the most difficult part, but I think this is the topic that I love the most. Because in the digital race to riches, I think distribution strategy and distribution of your ideas, product, content is the most important concept you can understand. And many startups, many business owners make a lot of mistakes wanting to jump immediately on every channel possible. But it's really important to focus on one, maybe two channels to start, and then double down on those that worked. So, you might think to yourself, you don't want to become mediocre in Twitter, Reddit, Insta, TikTok, LinkedIn, right? You would rather focus on one and become excellent at it. So should be the one, obviously, as we identified before, that your customers are in. You can also set a small budget aside for channels you have a hunch that would work. But if you don't do it, everything will suffer from it. And entrepreneurs usually have those huge things to do and to-do lists, but they should reflect more on which of the channels will really move the needle and go for it first. So I have an example here, another example from my experience. The company I talked about before, we decided to pick one channel, and it was influencer marketing. First, offering product for posts, and as this was going great, a lot of influencers were accepting the offer to create great content in exchange for products. It helped us grow this channel really fast. So I would say, that this focus that we had, with it came growth, driving to more sales. And this is the holy grail of every entrepreneur, right? The more sales, we can talk as much as we want about idea validation, doing market research, distribution channel, but if it doesn't bring any sales, then it's really useless at the end, right? So after validating this first channel, we were really ready to start with the next one. And in this case, we chose paid ads. And again, we really doubled down on testing and optimizing, also previously learning from content that worked with our audience, helped us launch successful ad campaigns from the start. And as our goal was to grow a lot, for us, the ads made really sense as the next channel to master. And I know it's such a duh thing to say, but to get good at a channel, you have to put in the work on it. And it's a grind, guys, to learn from what works, what doesn't work, what your audience likes. It can be a really huge undertaking, and to try to make the channel work and knowing its nuances, because this is where, the mastery lies in. So, for instance, if you are a consultant who works with, let's say, roughly 10 clients per year, not a big number, right? You don't need to run ads or have a massive social media presence. And I think many entrepreneurs struggle because they are not focusing on the right growth tactics and distribution channels that fit their revenue model. And spreading yourself too thin between many different distribution channels might be very detrimental to your operations, to your business. You will be much better off, as we already said, testing and optimizing specific channels one by one, and so which one reacts the best, and then doubling down on this one. Of course, the ultimate goal is to have a really strong marketing mix, so revenue coming from different directions and sources. But first, you need to figure out where your ICP hangs out, as I like to say. ICP is your ideal customer profile, and double down on those channels.
This is on point, Magda. Thanks. Really. If more business owners, as several one that I know, started with this approach, they will have much bigger chances of success down the line. Even I see it in my business.
Yes, exactly. I think, that's applicable across the board.
Yeah, sometimes you need to choose one or two and be the better in that channel and to grow, right?
Correct.
Amazing learnings today, Magda. Just to summarize it, could you recap for you what is the main takeaways you told for us today?
Good point. Yeah, so it would be great to recap. So, looking at what we talked about today, obviously there is no one way of doing marketing, right? Because I think my focus here was to talk a little bit more about marketing, but also in the context of business growth. But however, I think three things are really essential and can be like a foolproof method for a long-term success. First one is knowing your product. Second one is having the right targeting. So knowing your ICP, ideal customer profile, your target audience, and start testing specific distribution channels one by one and expand from there. As Alex said before, start small. I think this is the best way to go, because if, as we talked before, spread yourself too thin or put your all eggs in one basket, this might not necessarily be the best strategy, looking forward.
Amazing. I have learned it so much, because sometimes when something goes, the winner help and learn a lot for us, but when something don't work properly, you learn it the double, right? You learn it,
Yeah.
and you grow a lot. In the business, when you work a very huge in business, the first one, the revenue in millions just in 1 year. So
Yes.
this is very big learning today. Thank you for joining.
Oh, Stallin, if
today,
I can
Magda.
add to it as well, you need to be willing to learn from those failures, right? Or challenges. So what I always did was as well reflect on what happened, and then implemented this in the next venture or next idea. And obviously this was a very good method to avoid making the same mistakes, but there is so many things, so many pieces to the puzzle that a lot of things can go wrong. But hopefully with those learnings, you can avoid them in a greater scale.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, you show for us a lot of this path, these learnings, and some real good good learnings to implement in our startups. It was amazing to know. And in the last one, the channel distribution strategy, amazing too. Thank you for joining us today. You are a friend mine and Alexandra too. So, do you have any closing remarks?
Thank you very much for having me here. As you've heard, the startup or building a business journey, it's a complete roller coaster. But I think it's worth every twist and turn for the lessons you learn and most of all the impact you can make. And then applying those learnings and passing this knowledge as well to other people that have ideas but are unsure, for example, how to start. I think this is the most gratifying and satisfying part of this journey. So thanks for giving me the platform as well to do it. It was fantastic to talk to you guys. I would be really interested to know what our audience is working on. So maybe later if they can comment in the comment and let me know. I'll be happy to answer whether on my LinkedIn, on DM, or you guys can facilitate my email as well. Thank you.
That's right. Thank you, Magda, to be here. Really, it was amazing, all of the example, the argument, and your experience. So how can our listener get in touch with you or follow your work?
I think the easiest one nowadays is in LinkedIn. It's Magda Misiorny, Misiorny. I think you guys can link it here. You also linked my email, so it's magda.misiorny@gmail.com. Please send me a DM on LinkedIn, give me a follow. I would be also really keen to follow your journey, guys. And once again, thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Magda. It was a pleasure. And last, before to close, I don't know if the audience, do you have any kind of questions before as we have Magda here, Marcelo, Adriana, because Magda is based in Lisbon for the moment. So.
No, I just want to thank you for sharing with us your experience. Thank you a lot.
Thanks, Adriana. It really means a lot. Thank you. Thanks, Marcel, for the claps.
He's here in the place. But in any case, you have all of this video recording in our podcast and Mastermind if you want, and you have directly her contact. Thank you so much to be here. The idea we are going to close our first episode, but you can follow us. I'm going to send to you directly our LinkedIn page, Spot to Grow and Onebrain, and you can follow us directly. Right? So thank you so much, Magda, really, for your time, your experience, your background, and also not being shy, sharing your learnings.
Thank you. That's important. Very good point, Alex.
Very good point, because yes, we are in this kind of society that only successful people can talk nowadays, but all of us were successful, because without learnings, we don't have success. All of them. So this is, I think, a good conclusion to conclude. Thanks for those learnings. And let's go to success. Let's grow together.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Ciao, guys.
Bye.